Dragon Ballers, if you're looking to buy Dragon Ball Super or One Piece sealed product, make sure to get 5% off using my link to Mystic TCG down in the description. You can also sell cards to them using their Facebook link, which is also down in the description. Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile. Today I want to go over my Pan Reboot profile with you guys. I know this is a leader that a lot of people love. I really gained interest in it with some of the new set 21 cards, so I want to showcase my 50 card list in today's video. If you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. Now, first and foremost, why do we play Pan? Well, I personally am sick and tired of Gogeta and Sin Shenron. They've just been around for way too long. It's been like 4 formats now. And I do think there are other red decks that can step up if those decks were to be hit. Obviously, they'd be slightly worse, but that's the point of bans, right? So I think Pan is obviously one of those decks that would step up really, really well. Now, as for this leader and why we would play it, Pan is just a value generating leader. Like, every time you play a battle card, you're buffing its stats, which just means your opponent has to have more defenses in order to not take damage. And you're also just drawing a card on play. And that's especially good on the Awaken side, where as long as you play a battle card that will hit 20k, you're drawing 2 cards per turn on your Awaken leader. And that's a really good sign of an Awaken leader, is a leader that draws 2 cards per turn in some method. And again, same thing with the stat buffing, making your opponent just feel all the pressure. That's what makes Pan really, really good. So let's get into the main board here. We have SS Broly Surging Attack. This is the main card that made me really want to start playing this leader, because in this deck it is a 30k critical, and typically you're going to give your leader the Overlord and just put it to the bottom of the deck, which I absolutely love. This is a good teaching point for anyone who's getting into competitive Dragon Ball Super. You just get immediate value on that Broly, because not only do you draw on play because of your leader ability making it a 30k, but getting that draw on the Overlord is so good, because my personal philosophy, and I know a lot of other competitive players share the same thing, any battle card I play to the board without barrier, I'm just expecting it to get removed going into the following turn. So being able to get that immediate value on overlording Broly is so good. I know Broly doesn't restand, and like, you don't really want to keep it around on your board in rest mode anyway, but even if it did restand, just being able to get that immediate draw and getting some sort of value out of it without just having it removed from your board by your opponent just feels really good from like a card economy perspective. This card is just absolutely insane. And sometimes, of course, you will use a 15k popping ability. That's really good actually when your opponent plays blocker tokens via the blocker negates that every single color has. So play this for 1, kill a blocker token. Now all your threats can go in for damage. Just an incredibly versatile card. Then we had 3 copies of SS Gohan Defeating the Demon. Good news is you only need 3, not 4. You do make a decent amount of Z energy in this deck, but you are using a good amount of it for our main boss play that we'll talk about later. But yeah, this card's obviously rather expensive because of the shortage of TPs for this new set. But again, I guess it's just lucky you don't need 4. But this card is kind of essential for a competitive version of Pan, because it's just another way we can get value from our leader on our opponent's turn. Anytime we can play a battle card during our opponent's turn and still get a draw, you are just steamrolling the advantage in that game. It's just so good. And yeah, unfortunately for that reason, this card is necessary in a competitive version of the deck, but it's probably just necessary for any competitive red deck. So if you are playing red in general, you want to go ahead and get your hands on this card. And maybe just sell it after the tournament you're planning on playing. I don't know, just a tip on how to maybe recoup some of your losses, because this card is rather expensive right now. Then we have 4 copies of Great Ape Goku the Aggressor. Another great card for this deck. We don't have a ton of free play in the game anymore, but this is one of the rare examples, and it's another way to get value on your opponent's turn. This leads me to another thought where if you're new to Pan, you really want to make sure you get your leader's auto on both the unawakened and awakened side in the same turn. So whatever turn you're planning to awaken, you want to basically play a battle card on your unawakened side, have it reach 20k or higher, get that draw, and then same thing on the awakened side, play a battle card, make it hit 20k or higher, get that draw again, and then leader swing, draw a card. You just drew 3 cards off your leader effect alone, plus another one for awakening. That's a really good card economy advantage to be in, and that's why this leader is so good, because it just lends to card economy, which is just really important in card games. But yeah, Great Ape Goku the Aggressor is a great way to do that, because it is a free play that you can play during either your unawakened or awakened side, whichever one you were not able to spend energy on, basically. Next up, we have 4 copies of Goku Senses Return. This card's so weird because it's only really good on turn 2 and not so great any other point in the game, but you do need it on turn 2 because you'll play it, you'll burst 2, ideally you'll mill 5Ks. Sometimes that doesn't happen and it really sucks, but ideally you'll mill 5Ks and you'll use the Activate Battle to get 2 swings and charge 2 Z energy and get an additional draw, which is definitely not bad. And we do need 3 Z energy with this leader to get awakened, so that's why this guy is so vital on 2. Not so great later in the game, but still gotta kind of see it. And then we have 4 copies of Pan, Wisher of Miracles. This is a good way to make a Z energy on turn 1 because it is a 1 cost play. And the effect for minusing 10k is kind of weird because it's at the end of a battle where this card is played. So it's not like other quote-unquote arrival cards that give you immediate interruption, but it is decent against like dual attackers. Like a popular example is Piccolo the Infiltrator. If your opponent does not go ahead and give that card barrier, you can combo a card, play Pan, Wisher of Miracles, give that Piccolo minus 10k, and yeah, you'll probably take the damage from the first attack, but it's probably fine anyway. You're probably at high life. And then the second attack on Piccolo is only 10k, so it's not really going to threaten you. That's one of the cool plays you can do with Pan here. Then we have 4 copies of Pan, United Emotion. Cool thing about this card is that it actually gives us a slight advantage for going second, because on turn 1, you'll play it. It'll go to 20k because of your leader ability. And then when you swing with it, if it's 20k or higher, you get to search top 5 cards of your deck for a red sand. So it is always really cool when leaders and strategies give us certain advantages for going second, because in Dragon Ball Super, going first is really important. I think just about all the time you want to be going first because the energy advantage is just so valuable, but it is cool when cards give us a slight advantage for going second. It's always really appreciated. Then we have 4 copies of Beerus Motivated Destruction. Kind of weird that we're not playing a red Saiyan super combo that would be searchable by Pan. That would be Raditz Saiyan Youth. But it is really nice to have an 8 life super combo, because sometimes this deck can be stuck at 6 life, maybe even higher if you're not making great Z energy. But even if you're at that high life total, you're still able to apply really good pressure with Beerus Motivated Destruction. And I'll just skip ahead to Trunks Deluge of Power. These cards allow you to combo for 10k at any life total, which, like, if you're at 7 life, your opponent's at 4 life, and you're swinging with, let's say, some sort of 20k, making that hit for 30 is quite possibly to make your opponent go to 3 life, and then you're just, you know, hitting for damage from there with all your various combo and attacking cards, which is just really, really good. So yeah, Beerus makes a ton of sense in this deck. Then we have 2 copies of Beerus Ball. Got to be able to answer those floodgates. Cards like Riposte, cards like Oceanus, cards like the new Android 17 Defending Friends. You got to have answers for those. This format is very floodgate heavy. Then we have 2 copies of Broly Crown Retribution. This card, I think, has gotten a lot worse personally, namely because Yellow can deal with it so well. Yellow got so many counterplays in this format that if they leave 2 or 3 energy open, they can always just counterplay the Broly Crown, and now you won't be able to look at their hand. It's also a weird card in Pan, because a lot of times you want to start turns with Broly Crown because you want to just get an idea of what your opponent's hands look like and then go from there. But in this deck, if you play Broly Crown first, you're going to essentially waste your leader auto. You do have to use your leader auto on whatever the first card you play in that turn is, in case you didn't know. So yeah, Broly Crown's a bit weird in this deck, but it's still decent against the blue decks, so we are playing it. 1 copy of Secret ID. We definitely just want to play 1 Overwhelm, not too many. We don't generate too much of a drop in this deck, like super early on, but yeah, having the 1 Overwhelm is pretty standard. Then we had 3 copies of Goku Vegeta Trunks triple combination. This card's really cool because it goes over any of your Saiyans, namely like Broly Crown, that would be lower than your leader's value threshold. But other than that, like any attacker you've just spent, you can put this on top of and then trigger your leader to make it 25, then get some nice removal. This deck can somewhat struggle with removal. A really great play you can do is, let's say you had to play Surging Attack Broly and use the popping 15k effect, and it's just stuck on your board in rest mode. Well, now you can throw a triple combination on top of that, and it doesn't really matter that you did that, which is really, really nice. Then we have 3 copies of Topo Righteous Aid. This card is so good in Pan because it does have a discard cost on your opponent's turn, but Pan draws that card back, and now your opponent can't really attack with anything unless they want to pitch 2 cards, and you have a really beefy attacker going into your next turn. 3 copies of Goten Hyper Speed Rush. Draw a card on play, draw a card when you play it in Pan for 1 energy. Absolutely incredible value. 2 copies of Gohan Facing the Android Terror. This card's okay. Basically, what you can do if your opponent is going wide against you, and that's probably going to be in a red mirror or maybe a black matchup, you're going to be able to -10 a bunch of their cards, which is going to hopefully alleviate some of that pressure that they're throwing at you. That's ideally what this card is going to be used for. 1 copy of SS Vegito, A Light in the Dark, our Overwhelm of choice. Having a free Overwhelm in a red sand deck, there's not much better you could ask for. And then 3 copies of Testing the Opposition, just for our, you know, somewhat best form of defense. Red has definitely had their defenses hit quite a bit in the past couple sets, so having a free blocker negate that can potentially negate or stop 2 attacks for 1 card, definitely not bad. We go down to the Z deck, and it's pretty standard by all measurements. I mean, Defender of Life is just the main card you're ever playing in this deck. I'm not really going into many of the other cards, which is why I have really random options here, like Rush Attack Vegeta, which is an absolute broken staple in Gogeta and in Sin Shenron. It's only a 1 of here. Like, sure, you could play more. It doesn't really matter because you'll oftentimes not even play this card in a game. It's pretty rare you will, because just making that much Z energy in any deck that's not Gogeta or Sin is just super difficult to do. And like I said, we're almost always going to go into Defender of Light, because Defender of Light has the additional effect for 1 red. If your leader's a pan only card, you have 4 or more energy, and Great Ape Goku, the aggressors, under this card. This card gets plus 5k and dual attack, combined with your leader's Awaken Activate main of giving it another 5k. This guy can reach a total of 40k, deflect, barrier, double strike, and dual attack. That is the ideal situation you want to be in when playing Defender of Life. And of course, burning your opponent down to 3 rather, is really, really good. But yeah, 17 here, super random, probably don't play it. And then Piccolo, again, super random, probably don't need to play it. Although for 2 energy, if you need a 20k removal, that's cool. But yeah, generally we're only really playing Defender of Life, and maybe sometimes Vegeta surmounting the impossible. But yeah, I worked on this quite a bit. I got it from like 53 down to a clean 50 card list, and I think that's really good, because we don't draw nearly as much as Sin or Gogeta, so being able to see our best cards as early as physically possible is really nice. Pan can struggle when you have a pretty bad start, so let's just say you don't see like Pan Wish or Miracles to make that first Z energy, or you don't see Senses Returned to make the next 2 Z energy, and then you're basically real slow to getting Awakened for the rest of that game. You kind of want to avoid that. You want to mulligan for Pan Wish or Miracles and Goku Senses Return to make that Z energy early. If you're going second though, Pan United Emotion is a perfectly good card to keep in your opening hand for that turn 1 play going second that I mentioned. But anyways, guys, if you have any questions about this, please do drop them down in the comments. Hope you guys enjoy the list if you go ahead and play it. Thanks for watching. And if you guys want to check out my comic book coming up, New Mafia Genesis, links down in the description. Linktree there has all my resources, so I really would appreciate if you guys checked it out. But anyways, I'll talk to you guys in the next one.